Hello everyone, thank you for watching Tomorrow's America. I'm sure that you've all heard about the fraud scandal in Minnesota and the video of the citizen journalist Nick Shirley, who went out with a camera and a microphone and went to all these fraudulent businesses and exposed how our tax money is being poured into basically fraudulent companies that don't provide healthcare or daycare services that they're getting government funding for. So, to start off the show, I wanted to play what was the intro clip to Nick's video of him and his co-investigator talking about fraud and all the numbers and what their plan is. And then later in the show, I'll play clips of the specific things that they went out and investigated. But this is the biggest story on the, alternative media right now. And I think that it goes a lot deeper than just the video that Nick posted. So for our first clip, it'll be Nick, and then we'll come back and break down everything else that's involved with this.
Potentially the largest fraud scandal in U.S. history is taking place in Minnesota, as literally billions of dollars have been funneled through Somali-ran fraudulent businesses. So much fraud, it could actually almost replace the entire GDP of Somalia. These fraudsters have worked hand in hand with the Minnesota government as they enabled billions of dollars to be given to fraudulent businesses underneath welfare purposes. Some of this money eventually landed in the hands of terrorist groups in Somalia like the Al-Shabaab, and others enriched themselves all at the US taxpayers' expense. And in this video we will break down all of the fraud from start to finish, from going to the fraudulent businesses and confronting the people who are making millions of dollars from the government. And we will also be confronting the incompetent government leaders who let this fraud happen. And to make this happen, I met up with a man who's been doing his own investigation for years now, as he has seen the fraud firsthand. His name is David. Let's get into this and be prepared to be shocked. How deep is this fraud here inside of Minnesota?
It is far worse than anybody can imagine. You heard it's 7 to 10 billion and maybe more, and now the numbers have been revised and put out there publicly that they think it's more like 8 billion. How I got involved is that where my office is here in Minneapolis, I'm sort of in the heart of all of this fraud, and I would see these child care centers. I said, well, there aren't any kids there. It's the middle of the day, and all I see are a couple of guys standing out front smoking. And then I'd go by another daycare and I'd see the same thing. I said, well, where do these kids play? And so I started to go online and look, and I said, this place is licensed for 80 children. They had 0 children. Every time I went by there, they never had a single child there. Then I started to see all these transportation companies going around, and it was always a Somali driver. And I said, well, that's great. They're out there transportation, contributing, but they never had a passenger, never, ever once. And I said, well, what is all this transportation? What are they doing? So then I found out that in Minnesota, they have something called non-emergency medical transportation. So this is going to the dentist's office, therapy, whatever it might be. And I said, well, how many of these companies are there? And the research came back that there are 1,020 of them, and more than 800 of them are Somali-owned. Nobody from the state of Minnesota ever cross-checks to see if any rides were ever actually provided. All they did was write the check.
So right here we have all this paperwork. And how are you getting all this information about the fraud?
A lot of it is through my own research. And then I have some contacts at the Capitol going back many, many years. And so the data that I'm getting is 100% accurate, coming directly from research done by people at the state Capitol.
So what you just saw there was Nick and his partner Dave, and they're talking about all this fraud and all the places that they're going to go and how much it costs American taxpayers. So I guess just a quick overview of what I'm going to cover here. a lot of people remember the Melissa Hortman murder, political violent murder that took place last year. That, in my opinion, is connected to this. Also, Ilhan Omar, Tim Walz, Somali terrorists, the Democrat Party, and a lot more. So the Melissa Hortman political murder that took place. Basically, there's this video from 4 days before she was assassinated that shows her making the tie-breaking vote in a bill that would have funded illegal immigrants to get free health care. So she voted against it in the interest of other people from Minnesota, and she voted against the illegals getting free health care, and she's comes out and she's interviewed and she's shaky and panicked, and it's really telling about what she might have thought was going to happen to her, and it did end up happening to her. And then, I'll kind of break down how it all ties in, and we'll go from there. But here's the clip of Melissa coming out of the vote.
I know that people will be hurt by that vote, and we worked very hard to try to get a budget deal that wouldn't include that provision.
Okay, so what you've essentially got there is a scared woman who thinks she did the right thing, but knows that there's going to be repercussions. It's obvious that she knows that there's going to be repercussions because she is visibly shaky and very frightened. So Vance Bolter was the one who eventually ended up carrying out this political assassination. I'm not calling it a murder, I'm calling it an assassination, based on his own confession to the FBI. He wrote a letter to Kash Patel, and essentially in the letter, it basically says that Tim Walz, who appointed Vance Bolter to be the head of some commission within his administration, so Tim Walz appoints the guy, and then this vote happens, and then in Vance Bolter's words, so allegedly, Tim Walz ordered for Vance Bolter to carry out this hit, which I'll put the thing on the screen here. He carries out the hit. He claims that he was trained by the military, he's done other assassinations before, and that Tim Walz had a project that he needed him to work on, and he didn't want to do it, but he was promised X, Y, and Z. So he carries out the murder, which we know that he was, responsible for. Whether or not the contents of his confession statement are true or not is, I guess, not proven. But he wrote it in his own words, and basically he wrote it because he said that he was promised, to get away with it, and that Tim Walz never came through, and he ended up getting busted. So because he got busted, he was just going to throw Tim Walz under the bus for, ordering it. So the document is online. It's a public document, and I'm not going to read it, the whole thing, but you could go and find it. Basically, so there's this huge industry of fraud in the Somali community in Minnesota, and you could just look at Ilhan Omar. She became a politician. She was negative. She had a negative net worth. Online it says 45,000. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but now it's plus 30 million. So that's a big jump in money. And there's videos of her saying that she's not a representative of Minnesota. She's a representative of Somalia, and anything that she does is going to be for the benefit of Somalia, which Somalians in the United States vote together. They are very tribal, and they carry out any marching orders that the collective does. And she gained $30 million by becoming a politician. So Tim Walz, obviously, if he ordered the assassination and he's the one who has the ultimate authority to basically enforce the laws around these subsidies and these government grants and the funding for these healthcare companies, then he is complicit. Ilhan Omar is complicit. The entire state has like a fraud, hotline you can call and blow the whistle if you're in departments and all that. So there's a lot of people who let this go for a long time, and now there's, I believe they said there was 1,000 healthcare companies, and 800 of them were owned by Somalis, and some of them don't even have addresses. And one of them in particular, I believe it's called Little Angels or something along those lines, actually has the phone number connected to the daycare center as being Tim Wall's office phone number. So the phone number to contact Tim Wall's office is the phone number being used for this daycare that's getting free government money. And these daycares, they'll be like approved for, you'll see it in a second, like 120 kids, and never have one kid or never serve one meal or never provide health care to one person, but they claim it and then they get all the funding for it and then they just never do the service, which is fraud and is completely illegal and is concentrated specifically in the Somali community in Minnesota. So we're going to start off and play a clip about Nick showing empty daycare centers or daycare centers where when you try and walk in and ask if you can enroll your son, they grab the door and hold it closed and won't answer any questions. Then I'm going to play a video showing that when they left there, a group of Somalis were following them around in a truck trying to intimidate them. And then I'm going to play all these back to back. I'm going to play them going to healthcare providers and asking about rates for healthcare and not receiving one rate from any company. They didn't want to talk. They didn't want to provide a rate. They didn't want to do any service. And then the police show up and actually kick him out of the buildings for investigating the fraud. And then I'm not going to play the clip, but I'll just briefly mention it. There was what I would assume is a left-wing woman that showed up, and she, was yelling, "Don't come out! It's ICE! ICE is out here!" Now, Nick Shirley is not ICE. He's a YouTuber, and he's a very young man that just had a camera and a microphone and went in to expose fraud. So, she's yelling, "ICE is out here, don't answer the door." But no one was going to answer the door anyway because there was nobody in there to provide any services because the building is empty and doesn't operate, but it receives government funding. So in her mind, she's a hero for stopping this ICE raid or whatever she thought it was going to be. But in reality, she was telling nobody to come out of a building that doesn't operate but receives tons of her tax money and robs her of the benefits that she pays into by being an American. So here's the clips back to back.
Americans not here.
Okay, but if I can't get paperwork or anything to submit my son, little Joey, to come in here to daycare? We'd really like to put Joey in this daycare. We've heard great things.
Business card?
No, I would like your business card, actually.
You talk to your manager.
Okay, can I speak with somebody? Where are the children at? Are there children here today?
No.
No children.
Yes.
Why are there no children?
Two of Mexico.
Would my son, little Joey, have friends to play with here?
I don't know.
Can I speak to someone?
No, I don't know.
No? Yeah, I would like to see if I can put my son Joey here.
Who's your son, Joey?
My son Joey. Can I check out daycare center?
No! You're a liar. I'm the owner.
Do you put your kid here in this daycare?
No.
There is one child in there. Yeah, I'd like to know if this is a legit business.
Me, I'm scared of you too. How come I explain everything?
You're scared of me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because of your curry.
Because of my color. You said you're scared of me because of my color. Does that make you a racist?
Yeah, no.
But
no.
You said you're scared of me because of my color.
Okay.
Have a good day.
As we continue to show the blatant fraud that was taking place here in Minnesota, Somalis started following us around the city.
And now we're being followed by the Somalis. This is another daycare center, absolutely no signage, and there's no footprints in the snow of children playing outside. $5 million within the past
5.9
two.
million in 2 years. 5.9 million they received in 2 years. That facility right there.
And now we have a group of Somalis telling us in our vehicle right now.
From this daycare center, we headed over to the infamous Quality Learning Center, which actually spells Quality Leering Center on the outside of their sign. That's how blatant this fraud is here.
Here?
No.
Why can't I get healthcare here?
No, wait.
Warning, you are under video surveillance, no trespassing, security armed. This is the strangest place I've ever been to get healthcare. Just a bunch of different places. Healthcare here, healthcare right here, another healthcare company right here. There are 3 healthcare companies inside of this building right here in this room of 7C. Now we have another Helping Hands, Home Care LLC, another healthcare company. Present Help right here. We're looking for the best rates of healthcare here inside this building because we have so many options. Who can we talk to about getting the best healthcare?
I don't know.
No?
Sorry.
All right. We will not get any healthcare here. David, this is one of the stranger places I've ever been. Literally, healthcare every door you go to, yet nobody will give you a rate. How much money do you think's been funneled through this building?
Every year, I would say 50 to 60 million at least.
And finally, we were accepted into one of the daycare centers, and they actually took down our information to give us a rate. However, when we left, we were then met with the police.
We received a complaint that someone matching your description were in this building harassing the individuals who stay here.
Oh, we're checking out the rates for healthcare. Because there's 14 healthcare companies inside this building, so.
Okay.
Well, that's not what he said. He said there's 14 companies here, and he's trying to assume because they're Somali providers, everyone here is fraudulent.
Okay.
So
So
we're,
he's here with some kind of like propaganda.
no, we're
So
just
you guys
checking.
know, this is a area that we're allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance. Is there any other reason that you guys are here?
Well, we were checking rates.
No, he's not.
We were checking rates. We asked for rates.
No, you're not.
Okay. I'm gonna have, if you guys are all good, we're gonna step outside and we can continue this conversation.
All right, let's leave. So, all right, we're getting escorted out right now. The police have arrived. We were checking out the rates, seeing what was happening inside this building. No one would really speak with us. We did go inside the one daycare center, and she actually did give us rates for childcare. Much respect to that lady. What's the problem, officer?
Well, so again, we've been getting reports from multiple individuals that you guys were harassing individuals who work here. At the end of the day, this is private property, and it's one that people are allowed to ask you to leave, and it's also one the Minneapolis Police Department is allowed to enforce trespassing ordinance at this address.
Yeah.
So
As we got escorted out of this building, the Somalis filmed us as we left, and we headed over to the next building that had 22 of the same home health care providers operating from inside of the building.
Right.
And then last but not least, pay attention because there's been stories out of Ohio, there's been stories out of other states where the same fraud scandals appear to be happening. Now, Minnesota specifically has had repeated arrests for fraud scandals, and the judges must be in on it too, because they'll get tried, convicted by a jury unanimously, and sentenced, and then another judge will step in and say, well, they can't be held responsible, and they'll release them. So I'm not sure what the judges have, how they're tied in, or all these people, but all the politicians of Minnesota are working very hard to make sure that the fraud continues. So other states are starting to notice it too. If you feel inspired to go out and investigate this stuff, as you saw in the video, Dave, Nick's partner, got all of his information off of the Minnesota state website. So this is all public information. It's very easy to become involved, to get informed, and to participate in stopping the fraud and holding people accountable, and boosting this as a major topic so that it does get solved. Also, you could start a podcast, or go online, post whatever, as long as you spread the word about this topic and try and help to resolve the issue. You're doing your part as an American, and that's commendable. But if you don't want to do anything active, you can share this video, you can like, comment, subscribe to our channel, and try and boost this video so that citizens, journalists like Nick Shirley, or like Tomorrow's America, or like yourself, become more prevalent. I think we are the majority, but we're not the mainstream majority, or being pushed for. So the only way to beat the algorithms is to promote this content and content like it, and to like, share, and subscribe. Send it to everybody that you know, whether they agree or disagree, so that this country could get back on the right track, and there could be a bright future for the next generations of Americans. That's what we are. Tomorrow's America, and we're concerned about America's tomorrow. And the only way to ensure that we have a bright future ahead of us for this country is to wake up now, stand up now, pray, become more in tune with your faith, and just be a good person. Thank you very much for watching,